The Tolkien Road, Episode 33, The Lord of the Rings, Book 1, Chapter 10, Strider. Alright, go ahead. The Tolkien Road, 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 the Tolk The Tolkien Road.
The Tolkien Road.
The Tolkien Road.
Hey there, fellow travelers. Welcome to the Tolkien Road, a long walk through the works and philosophy of J.R.R. Tolkien. On this episode, we continue our discussion of The Lord of the Rings with Book 1, Chapter 10 of Fellowship, Strider, wherein we learn more about the mysterious ranger, receive Gandalf's letter, and find out about Merry's run-in with the Black Riders. We also discuss the wonderful All That Glitters Is Not Gold poem. By the way, if you haven't already, please leave the Tolkien Road a rating and feedback on iTunes. We'd love to know what you think of the podcast. Enjoy the show! Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Tolkien Road. This is John here, and I am joined as always by Greta. Greta, what's shaking?
What's shaking? Everything that's cool and righteous.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. Right on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're here to talk about Chapter 10 of Book 1 of The Lord of the Rings.
We're making some good progress.
We are moving right along.
Yes.
Moving right along. So, yeah. Chapter 10 is called Strider.
Strider.
Just simply Strider.
Yep. So we have an idea of what the chapter's going to be
called
about.
Trotter,
Right.
as you'll remember from last episode.
Right.
Thankfully,
Yeah,
it's called
I do
Strider.
like something about that. I kind of like... There's something... I do prefer
Yeah.
Strider, but I don't hate Trotter.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
In its own way.
I guess so. I don't know. I'm not really a fan of it. I'm not sure why, but I'm just not. You know, some words just hit you the wrong way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I know. I dig it. I think it's probably a good thing that he changed the name, but
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been horrible if he hadn't.
yeah.
That's all I'm saying. So Strider.
Right. Strider.
So
So this chapter is pretty much about Strider.
yeah,
Getting to know him a little better. Of course, he was introduced in the last chapter.
right.
But we get to know him a little
yes.
better here.
Yes.
So, let us begin with our
With what, John?
haiku time.
Haiku time. Haiku time. Prove it.
Our neighbors are all going to think that we're nuts, with Greta over here being like, haiku time.
Well. Boom. It's like the
Dropping the
perfect
bomb.
way to end that song.
Yeah.
It's just like, boom.
That's right.
Let's
Haiku
do some
time.
haikus.
Let's do some haikus.
That's what I'm talking about.
Stop messing around. Get to the haiku.
Just do it. Wait, we didn't do our haiku moment last time.
Well, as long as we have quiet before the beginning of the haiku and have set the right atmosphere, we don't have to say, like,
Oh,
You
I
know
thought
what
it
I'm
had to be
saying?
prolonged quiet.
just as long as there's enough quiet to set
To
the
kinda
mood,
get the-
you know? Get the vibe
I
going.
see. I got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
You don't just want to be like, ha, 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 here's my haiku, blah, 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 you know? Being
Okay.
a goofball, and then you go just run off and do a
Right.
haiku like
Haiku
it's
is
just another
serious
part of
stuff.
your talking. Yeah.
Right. I understand. It needs to be set apart.
Yes.
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 Made to feel special.
Special.
Yeah. I think it's your turn.
Special. It is my
yeah,
turn to go
It's
first.
your turn to go first.
Okay, here we go. In lexicons, nigh doofus, a picture of Barlam and Butterbur.
You hear that? Crickets.
Yeah. I don't think you heard my haiku.
I don't think I understood your haiku.
In lexicons, nigh doofus, a picture of Barlam and Butterbur.
Is this in Old English again?
Or
Middle English?
Called Old English or Middle English.
One of them. One of the Englishes we don't speak
this would be
anymore.
early modern English would be more like what it is.
Do we
But
still speak early modern English?
that's what Shakespeare was, early modern English.
Oh, okay. That's probably why I don't understand it then.
Yeah.
Can you? It sounds very pretty. Can you
In
enlighten me?
lexicons, a lexicon is a dictionary. It's just it's a fewer syllable way of saying
Is it
dictionary.
is it lexicon or is it in lexicon?
In lexicons.
But what's the name? What's the word for dictionary? Lexicon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nigh, near, doofus, in quotation marks.
Okay.
The word doofus. That's actually not early modern English.
Oh, right. I got the doofus part. I just didn't figure out how it worked with the other words I didn't know.
In lexicons, near doofus, a picture of Barlam and Butterbur.
I like that.
Trying to
now that
explain
you
it.
now that you translated it for me,
Translated. Nice.
that's really good.
Thank you.
I like that.
Thank you.
I like that.
Yeah. It's kind of
I think doofus is a little harsh though.
he is kind of a doofus. Come on.
He's
Well, it depends on what your definition of doofus
that's
is.
true. I guess that's a
I guess
a matter of
I guess doofus
perception.
can sound a little harsh. You know, I think it's a fun word, but I can see how people might feel like offended by being called a doofus, even if you're just playing around with them.
yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I think it's good. Well done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Remind me never to call you a doofus.
Okay. Yeah, I probably would be offended by being called a doofus. Unless I did something that was worthy of being called a doofus.
Well, then you'd just be even more offended by being called a doofus.
Probably.
That's how that generally works, right? Is you do something and you're like, yeah, I'm just saying people, like, you know, we do something and we know it's stupid and we're like, oh, I really hope this, I don't want to be called out on that. 'cause I know it's
Alright,
stupid,
yeah, then
you know?
people noticing makes it worse.
Yeah,
That's
and
true.
you're like,
It's salt in the
shut up. you
salt
know?
in the open. That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't call me a doofus ever.
Okay, fine.
Okay? Ever.
I'll call Barleyman Butterbur a doofus.
I like Barleyman Butterbur.
Well, I do too, but he's kind
I
of
like
a
his
doofus.
name too.
I'm just saying. Man.
Okay. Well, I liked your haiku.
Alright, get on with it. Get
All
on
right.
with
Here's my haiku.
it. Yeah.
A friend of Gandalf's, once and future king. Oh, okay. Can I start over?
Yes.
I couldn't read my writing. Bad handwriting with lack of light. How did they ever used to read by candlelight? I'm like honestly wondering that right now.
They had brighter candles.
Is that what it was?
I
They
guess.
made candles brighter back then.
Or maybe their eyes just were more adept at
they were
doing
more-
it because
Because that's
They
what
were
they
used
had to
to
do.
it? Yeah.
That's true. That's a good thought. It's the whole adaptation thing, right?
I guess.
It's an adaptation and
This is not a biology podcast.
no, but it's something about how like you adapt.
Look, science
Okay.
is not allowed here.
I'm
You
sorry.
understand me?
I'm sorry.
You got it, Bill Nye? Science is not allowed here.
I love science. Okay. Wait, nature is science.
Science is not allowed here.
But if we talk about nature, we're talking
Except unless it's the science of Tolkien. Which is what this is all about.
about... Okay. Alright. I'll start over now. Here's
Very
my
well.
haiku. Alright, I'm serious. Serious haiku face on.
Get your haiku face on. What time is it? Haiku time? Yeah.
Get your
Like
haiku
guys-
face on!
Guys in pads in locker rooms being like, what time is it? Haiku time? Yeah.
Excuse me, Prophet! I don't think you have your haiku face on!
That's right.
Get your haiku face on! Okay, I got my haiku face on now.
Alright.
A friend of Gandalf's, once and future king, he knows just what Frodo needs.
Nice.
You like it?
Yeah.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
Strider.
Because that's what the chapter's called.
Good job.
Thanks.
That really brings it full circle for me.
I
Thank you.
thought it might.
Yeah.
I thought that might help. Yeah. I liked, I'm just gonna tell you what I thought was so great about my haiku.
Oh, this is going to be like kind of like the behind the music on Greta's haiku.
Yes, exactly. Whatever happened to behind the music or pop-up video? This is what this is.
This is
It's
like this is like the pop-up video for your. This
Yes,
is
it's
like pop-up haiku.
yes, pop-up haiku. Yes, pop-up haiku.
Well, what you need to do is you need to give me the haiku so I can read it slowly, and then you like speak while I'm reading it.
But we need to make the bubble pop sound too, right? Because that was like one of the things with pop-up video is the bubbles would pop as the.
I'll just read it very quietly, and then you can like talk over me here. Let me see your haiku, and then you can
Okay.
put your notes on there. Okay. A friend of Gandalf's
So Strider was a friend
once
of Gandalf,
and future king.
and
Who knows?
he,
Just
you're reading too fast.
sorry. Let's start over. A.
Really, the only thing I wanted to explain was the once and future thing.
Friend.
I thought the once and future king part was pretty
Of.
clever because
God.
because he talks about how about he used to be a king, but now his sword
Once.
was broken, but it's going to be refused
And.
or what do you do with metal?
Feud. Sure.
I can't think straight. The once and future king I thought was very clever. That's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to toot my own horn for a quick minute. Anyway,
So that was the inaugural episode of Pop-Up Haiku, apparently.
I'm afraid that's not going to be a winner.
Well, hey,
But
if y'all like that, let us know, and we'll include it in future episodes. The story behind the haiku.
it's like going to a songwriter's night, right? Where you get to hear about
Yeah.
their creative process for their songs and what inspired it.
Yeah.
I think there's a book called Once and Future King. That's the other thing I
There
wanted
is
to say.
a book called Once a Future King, and
So
it's about King Arthur.
Right, it's about King Arthur.
Yeah.
Right, I think I actually read that. I did, I read it.
Yeah.
I read it with
By
for our
T.H.
homeschool
White.
thing.
T.H. White.
Yeah, it was super good. I think I read it on the iPad. It was really good. But I thought that was super clever because I think that's what Strider is, right? Because he used to be a king and now he's not, but he's going to be one again in the future.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
Yeah. And he does know exactly what Frodo needs. Like, exactly.
Do you need me to do the slow reading again
No,
while you
it's
keep
okay.
talking?
That's okay. I'm good. Thanks.
Good.
Do you want to read yours?
Oh, I already read mine. Remember the doofus one?
Oh, right, in
Do
lexicon.
you want to read it slowly, and I'll talk about why?
If you would like to
No,
talk
I
about
don't.
it. Okay. Well, you kind of already explained it
I
anyway.
kind of already did, yeah.
But see, that would have been a really good one to do a pop-up haiku with, because it could be like in lexicon, and then it could pop up and say an old word for dictionary,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it could say nay, and then it'd say also known as near, right?
Nigh.
Nigh. Oh, nigh.
Yeah.
Also known as near,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it would say doofus, and it had like a picture of a dunce cap. Anyway, go on.
Or a doofus, right?
Or doofus. Yeah.
Which might be a creature.
No, I think
fantastical
it would
creature.
just be a silly looking person with a dunce cap on.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe it would be like, no, I'm not going to say his name. Anyway.
All right.
Do we have any others from our
We do.
super fans?
Josh,
Josh
submitted
never
two.
lets us down.
Never does. Never
That's
does.
amazing.
So, yeah, here's one from Josh. Words that yet lack reason, a poem or prophecy, stride into mind.
Well done.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
See, he kind of gets the once and future thing too, because
Yeah.
he talks about the prophecy.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Nice.
dig that. Well done, Josh.
Yes. Good stuff.
Yeah,
All right, and Mary Grace came through with one.
nice. Did she give us another poem too?
No, just the haiku this time.
That's better than nothing.
So, I mean, that was a serious poem.
That was a
in the
serious
last
poem, but I mean,
episode,
when
yeah.
you set the standard, I mean, now my expectations are like, I want more, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Can't get too much of a good thing.
All right, here's hers. Strider, Dunedain, Arathorn's son, Arranger. Aragorn, Elfstone.
Wow.
So yeah, she built a haiku out of all the different titles of Aragorn.
Are all those mentioned in this chapter?
I think so. I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure if Dunedain is.
I don't think it is, because that's not familiar to me.
Yeah. So Dunedain is that word will come up later, but I'm pretty sure that word means elf friend.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Which
Cool.
goes back to like the end of the Silmarillion, beginning of the Second Age.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
they're like a special race of men.
I see.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
I dig it, Mary
Nice.
Grace.
And then Roman.
Nice.
Roman submitted one as well. A brave soul he is, descendant of Isildur, heir to Gondor's throne.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really good.
Yeah.
Well done, guys.
Muy bueno.
Man, we have the best super fans.
Yes.
They make me want to write better haikus.
Me too.
Hmm
Me too.
Thank you for sending those in, y'all.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
gonna
it's good.
air
That
high
I
five.
think it's good that we decided to go first. You know, that we were always
Absolutely,
going to go
it
first
always
because
is
theirs are always better.
Because those are always better.
Yeah.
That's why I think you're absolutely right. And now I'm going to virtual high five all three of you at the
Yes.
same time.
At the same time or individual?
Let's do 3 virtual air fives.
All right, so
Can you help me?
air 5
Air
for
5 for Josh.
Air 5 for Mary Grace.
Air 5 for Roman.
There you go.
Nice.
Right on.
Right on.
All right, so
Keep them coming, guys.
as we said, this chapter is all about Strider.
Strider.
Yeah. So, what do you think? What are your thoughts on Strider?
Strider.
Actually, did you have a favorite passage in this chapter?
Oh, yeah, I did. Hold on. I made a note of it again. See, just like my last favorite passage involved this song, this one I really liked Gandalf's letter.
Oh,
Is that kind of cheating?
what, to pick the poem?
To pick a poem or a letter or kind of a
That was if
special
it was indeed your
edition?
favorite part of the.
Yeah, it was. I really liked. Well, I liked the prophecy. I think that was. So really, I think it was the PSs that I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
So the first PS, this is Gandalf's letter to Frodo, which Frodo got about 3 months too late. Is that about right?
Yeah.
3 months later than he was supposed to, thanks to Butterbur. Anyway, so in this letter, the PS from Gandalf says, "Do not use it again, not for any reason whatever. Do not travel by night."
Mm-hmm.
PPS, make sure that it is the real Strider. There are many strange men on the roads. His true name is Aragorn. And then the prophecy he includes says, "All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. From the ashes a fire shall be woken. A light from the shadows shall spring. Renewed shall be blade that was broken. The crownless again shall be king." And then the PPPS says, "I hope Butterbur sends this promptly. A worthy man, but his memory is like a lumber room. Thing wanted, always buried. If he forgets, I shall roast him. Farewell." So yeah, I thought that last PS was pretty funny.
Yeah.
His memory is like a lumber room.
Well, they're all interesting PSs because the first one is. So I'm thinking like. So Gandalf says, "Do not use it again,
Mm-hmm.
not for any reason whatever." When would Gandalf have known about Frodo using it?
Well, didn't he? Did he not put it on at Bag End?
No, because Frodo told him not to.
Oh,
right?
you're right. When was the other time he used it?
That's what I'm saying. The only time we know of so far is in the inn. Which how would Gandalf have known about that? I'm trying to think back. Did he use
So
it?
the inn was the first time that he used it?
Yeah.
No, didn't he use it when they were trying to hide from the Black Riders on the road?
Did he actually put it on there?
That I don't remember.
I'm trying to think back. I feel like he was tempted to, but he didn't.
Yeah, he was tempted to. But no, he must not have, because that would have drawn the Black Rider to him, wouldn't it have?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that is interesting. If any of our listeners out there know?
No, I just find that surprising that he says not again. Right. Do not use it again for any reason whatsoever. And then, of course, do not travel by night.
Which obviously, implies that he would have used it.
Right. So maybe he's just referring to Bilbo, when Bilbo used it.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that could be.
Maybe he's just trying to say no one should use it again. I don't know. But I just can't remember another time that Frodo may have used it.
Yeah, good call.
I'll have to go back and look that up.
I hadn't thought about that.
Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he hadn't. Yeah, I was going to pick that poem too as my favorite.
Oh, really?
One part of the chapter, but I picked a backup just in case because I thought you might pick that.
Oh.
But yeah, really cool little set of verses there. Not all who wander are lost is a favorite that I see quoted quite often by different people. The old that is strong does not wither, deep roots are not reached by the frost. From the ashes of fire shall be woken, a light from the shadows shall spring. Renewed shall be blade that was broken, the crownless again shall be king. I don't know, man. I wish somebody, I think every human being should have like verses like that written about them.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
Maybe the world would be a better place if everybody had verses like that written about them. People would have more of a sense of what they're, called to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, what do you think about Aragorn from what we learned about him in this chapter? What's your kind of takeaway of him?
Well, he's definitely mysterious.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's not very trustable. Like he kind of looks skeezy, right? And I mean, even he talks about his looks not being in his favor, right? But at the same time, once you realize, oh, okay, he's a good guy, he's on my side, I mean, what he's offering is really selfless.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows it's going to be a rough road. And it's still something that he is willing to offer. And just by the fact that he's a friend of Gandalf's, he's got to be pretty good people.
Yeah.
Right. But this prophecy, yeah. But he's almost. I mean, I do see. I mean, he's obviously not as mysterious as Tom Bombadil, but I still find myself kind of questioning his origin, and kind of like, who is he really? Like,
right.
Where did he come from? Because he even meant, this poem kind of makes it sound a little like, whoa, this guy, he sounds pretty important, right? I mean, just that something like this would be written about him.
Yeah.
Means he's important. But then later when they're talking, he says something about how he's older than he looks, right? So it's almost like he almost maybe has some elvish qualities about him.
Right.
Right? I mean, not that he's immortal, but he ages well, apparently.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's yeah, I like him. I like him from the very beginning, but I've also seen the movie, so.
Yeah.
What about you? What are your thoughts?
Well, he seems, one thing that strikes me is he seems, for the most part, pretty self-assured and, confident in who he is. But he also, several times he's like, he'll say something and he's like, don't get me wrong,
what do you mean?
Well, let me find it. He says, in the very first part of the chapter, Frodo says, "You said I might hear something to my advantage, I believe," said Frodo. What have you to say?" "Several things," answered Strider, "but of course I have my price." "What do you mean?" asked Frodo sharply. "Don't be alarmed. I mean just this. I will tell you what I know and give you some good advice, but I shall want a reward. And the reward, of course, that he wants is to come along with him. But I guess it just, and I think he does that again at some point. He says, now just a little while later, now don't mistake me, he cried as Frodo rose from his seat and Sam jumped up with a scowl. So I think he knows, and maybe it's just because he senses the sensitivity of this whole affair and that the hobbits really need to be able to trust him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just interesting in the way he goes about it, because I don't get the sense that he's very practiced in getting people to trust him. You know?
Right? Yeah, that's true. That is true.
I think he says this thing like, several things, but of course I have my price, and he's like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Like, that sounds wrong. And because immediately he's like, don't be alarmed. I mean just this.
Right.
And oh, by the way, I've been spying on you the whole way since you got back on the road. Don't be alarmed, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you pick up on that where he's like, I was behind the heads this evening on the road west of Bree when 4 hobbits came out of the Downlands. I need not repeat all that they said to old Bombadil or to one another, but one thing interested me. Please remember, I am that the name Baggins must not be mentioned. I am Mr. Underhill, if any name must be given. So, and he says I slipped over the gate, so he was the guy that slipped over the gate.
Right. That's confirmed.
But I mean, overall, yeah, I think Strider Aragorn, very likable. Obviously a good figure. He's confirmed by reading that poem and basically saying that he's the guy that this name belongs to, and then basically saying Sam is still skeptical, and
right.
And he basically says, well, if I was going to kill you, I would have killed you already, right?
Right.
I'm not going to go through all this just to, But even then, that's I think he underestimates that how protective and guarded the hobbits got to be, right? Because actually, I don't know that the wisest thing for somebody trying to get their hands on the ring would be to kill them, right? Just outright. Because
what?
I don't know that the wisest thing. So his argument there that if I was going to kill you, I would have done it already. I don't know that really is completely reassuring.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Because there's 4 of them, so if he goes after the wrong one and the rest of them get away, then he still doesn't have what he wants, which is the ring. But if he can get close enough to them to where Frodo lets down his guard, and he figures out which one has the ring, and then that one lets down his guard, then he can get after that one, right?
Right.
So anyway,
so you're questioning maybe his tactics, his strategy.
I'm just saying, like, as much as Aragorn is the man and is really cool, he obviously hasn't done much of convincing people that he is who he says he is, and I think maybe part of his journey we're going to see is that he really does have to. I think he's comfortable with the notion that that he is who he is. He's Isildur's heir. But I think he has to grow into exactly what that means and how he has to. He's been a ranger his whole life, right?
Right.
I mean, he's been a cowboy, But here he's being told that he has to be this king now.
Right. So he's maybe a little intimidated by what the future holds.
Right.
For him, and maybe he feels like he's gonna have to change.
Right.
Right. Who he is, and that makes him uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's kind of like somebody who's like a farm boy who's all of a sudden, or just like a cowboy who all of a sudden is somebody's like, you need to go to Washington D.C. and be congressman, right? Like, you've got to figure out how to build relationships and get people to trust you and all of this sort of thing, and you might not be the most polished at doing all of that. Right.
Yeah.
So that you can accomplish some greater good.
Right.
But you really sense his sincerity when he says, if by my life or death I can save you, I will. Right.
Yes. I really like that line.
Yeah.
But really, in what he's offering to Frodo, or what he's asking them, to be their guide and their protector, he's really, obviously, the job he's doing is a ranger job. It's not a King of Gondor job. So, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so he really shouldn't be uncomfortable in his skin right now, because he's not yet the king. and he's still he needs to be very much a ranger.
Yeah, but don't you think that would
Weigh on
would
him.
affect a guy's
Yeah.
psyche and
yes, it
and if he
would.
knows that this is all about the ring, right? Then he has to have some sense that this is what got his great grandfather in trouble, right? This is the thing, and so this may be his big moment, right?
Yeah, this is him to like set right all the
Yeah.
wrong that's been done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a lot of weight on somebody's shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Have you shared your favorite passage yet?
Oh, yeah, let me share my favorite passage.
Yeah, do that.
A stout little fellow with red cheeks, said Mr. Butterbur solemnly. Pippin chuckled, but Sam looked indignant. That won't help you much. It goes for most hobbits, Barley, he says to me, continued Mr. Butterbur with a glance at Pippin. But this one is taller than some and fairer than most, and he has a cleft in his chin. Perky chap with a bright eye. Begging your pardon, but he said it, not me. I just liked, how, he described Sam first. A stout little fellow with red cheeks.
Oh, he's describing Sam? I thought he was describing Frodo.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I had that mixed up. So he describes Frodo. It's a stout little fellow with red cheeks, and then Sam gets upset when Pippin laughs at that part of it.
Right.
Because Sam is so
He's
protective,
so protective of Frodo. Right. Yeah.
But I was actually, when I first read that, I thought, when I went back and read it, I thought he was talking about Sam, and that's why Sam was mad that Pippin was laughing about that. But it's just part of the description of Frodo.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was sweet.
Yeah. So, let's do a quick time check. Let's pause there and take a quick commercial break.
All right, let's do it. Stay tuned.
Do you know the tale that Tolkien called the kernel of the Middle-earth mythology? Beren and Luthien is the story of an outlaw mortal and an elvish princess tasked with obtaining a Silmaril, one of the holy jewels of the Blessed Realm, from the Iron Crown of the Dark Lord Morgoth. In my new book, Tolkien's Requiem, I explore the legend of these doomed lovers. In doing so, I aim to provide a backdoor into the world of the Silmarillion for those who have struggled to give it a go. One of Tolkien's greatest achievements, the story of Beren and Luthien, deserves to be as well known as The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Get your copy of Tolkien's Requiem today by visiting truemyths.org/Beren. That's truemyths.org/BEREN. Happy reading!
All right, and we're back. So we've been talking about Strider, a.k.a. Aragorn, and Aragorn.
Yes.
Aragorn, yeah.
Aragorn.
Yes. I wanted to read the content, the non-PS parts of Gandalf's letter first,
Okay.
and let's discuss that a little bit.
Yeah, good idea.
Dear Frodo, bad news has reached me here. I must go off at once. You had better leave Bag End soon and get out of the Shire before the end of July at latest. I will return as soon as I can, and I will follow you if I find that you are gone. Leave a message for me here if you pass through Bree. You can trust the landlord, Butterbur. You may meet a friend of mine on the road, a man lean, dark, tall, by some called Strider. He knows our business and will help you. Make for Rivendell. There I hope we may meet again. If I do not come, Elrond will advise you. Yours in haste, Gandalf.
So Frodo's left 2 months later than he was supposed to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And still Gandalf hasn't returned.
Right.
And all we know is that some bad news reached him. That's all we know at this point.
Right.
We don't know exactly what that bad news was, but Gandalf had to run off to take care of it.
Yes.
Which I'm sure does not make Frodo and the gang feel any better about their current situation. I think the whole way they've been like, man, we need like Gandalf or somebody to come along and just like take this whole, help make the decisions for us, right?
Right. Yeah.
You
the
know,
voice of reason.
exactly,
And,
and so that we don't have to carry all this weight on our shoulders.
Right. Right.
But as we talked about in a much earlier chapter, that seems to be a theme here, is that this is a huge responsibility, and they just aren't getting the help that they wanted, that they need.
Right.
Except that, obviously, Strider comes along.
Yeah, Strider's there.
Strider
Yeah.
seems like he's going to be a pretty helpful guy.
Mm-hmm.
So a little later, they ask about.
Can I ask a question real
Yeah,
quick?
go ahead. Yeah.
I wanted to just kind of get your thought on this. So, really, Butterbur's delivery of this letter, even though it was a couple months late, if not more, was kind of timely, right? Because the hobbits were arguing right before the letter arrived. They've been arguing about whether or not to trust this guy and let him come along with them,
Right.
right? Because Sam's like, no, I don't think so, right? And Frodo's like, well, maybe it would be okay. And then this letter shows up, basically helping prove Strider's case,
Right.
And convincing them to trust him. Do you think they would have trusted him if the letter hadn't showed up when it did?
I think it would have been a lot less likely.
Yeah.
Although at some point, I think he could have reasoned his way into.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Strider is a pretty intelligent and persuasive guy, even if he does kind of stumble through his persuasion. I think eventually he would have just, he may not have. They may not have let him come like right alongside, but he probably would have still followed them and just kept an eye. It tracked them to ensure, and I think an opportunity would have come along eventually to where it was like the Black Riders were attacking and Aragorn.
And he like swooped in and saved their lives. They're like, okay, you can come with us.
Right.
And one other question: this little symbol that happens in a couple different places in the letter, is that just like Gandalf's little signature? Or like
that's his rune.
His rune.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the G, the Elvish G.
Oh, okay. I like it.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, we can move on now.
Okay.
Thank you.
You betcha. So, jumping ahead a little bit, Frodo asks Strider, "When did you last see Gandalf? Do you know where he is or what he is doing?" Strider looked grave. "I do not know," he said. "I came west with him in the spring. I have often kept watch on the borders of the Shire in the last few years, when he was busy elsewhere. He seldom left it unguarded. We last met on the 1st of May at Sarn Ford down the Brandywine. He told me that his business with you had gone well, and that you would be starting for Rivendell in the last week of September. As I knew he was at your side, I went away on a journey of my own, and that has proved ill, for plainly some news reached him, and I was not at hand to help. I am troubled for the first time since I have known him. We should have had messages, even if he could not come himself. When I returned many days ago, I heard the ill news. The tidings had gone far and wide that Gandalf was missing, and the horsemen had been seen. It was the elven folk of Gildor that told me this, and later they told me that you had left your home. But there was no news of your leaving Buckland. I have been watching the East Road anxiously." "Do you believe the Black Riders have anything to do with it, with Gandalf's absence, I mean?" asked Frodo. "I do not know of anything else that could have hindered him except the enemy himself," said Strider. "But do not give up hope. Gandalf is greater than you Shire folk know. As a rule, you can only see his jokes and toys, but this business of ours will be his greatest task." Pippin yawned. "I am sorry," he said, "but I am dead tired. In spite of all the danger and worry, I must go to bed or sleep where I sit." So anyway, that's kind of the rundown on what we know about Gandalf. He just seems to be missing. And so Strider has suddenly had to take upon himself even more responsibility for the hobbits as well.
Yes.
We get a sense that so far the hobbits have been able to make it themselves, but it's doubtful they're going to be able to make it much farther on their own.
We've already had several close calls.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been for Tom Bombadil, they probably wouldn't have made it as far as they have.
Right.
So, they need help.
And Gandalf, we have no idea where he is. He's just disappeared, which is very unlike Gandalf. So it's very concerning. Very concerning to all.
Is there anywhere that you find out more about what he's doing during this time? Like in
you
another
do. Later
in the book?
And later in book 2 of Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Yeah. So by which I mean book 2 of 6, not so the second half of the
second
Fellowship
part of
of the Ring.
Fellowship, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Not the Two Towers.
Gotcha.
We find out all about it in there, actually.
So we know that Gandalf will return
Yes.
at some point.
Gandalf shall return.
Good deal.
And so the Black Riders. So Merry returns. Merry had kind of gone on a walk while the rest of the hobbits had stuck around and enjoyed themselves, and Frodo had done his Man in the Moon poem and everything. And then Merry is finally found. For a little while he's missing. They don't know where he is.
Right, he missed the whole thing with the letter and meeting Strider and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then Nob, one of the Bree hobbits, comes and says, "I found him." and they bring him back, and Mary says, I thought I had fallen, he had told Nob at first, he had said, I thought I had fallen into deep water. He says, very clear he was, and as soon as I had roused him, he got up and ran back here like a hare. And then Mary says, I'm afraid that's true, though I don't know what I said. I had an ugly dream which I can't remember. I went to pieces. I don't know what came over me. And then Strider says it was the black breath. Right? So what's the black breath? Do you remember the description? You want to read that little description down here?
Isn't that just basically like the smoke that the Black Riders blow? Isn't that basically what it is?
Yeah, it's more just like kind of an influence they seem to have. So it would be something I guess they could breathe on you, but he said they're Strider basically says the riders are here and they're doing their thing. They must have
let their horses outside.
Have their horses outside and pass back through the south gate in secret. They will know all the news now, for they have visited Bill Ferny. Now, probably that Southerner was a spy as well. Something may happen in the night before we leave Bree.
So those are the guys that kind of snuck out after Frodo did his disappearing act, right? Yeah. And they might be in league. They probably are in league with the Black Riders.
Right.
Okay.
Or at least at their service, right?
Okay. Yeah. Right. The little minions.
Yeah, or just kind of like little spies that they're like getting, where they're paid or something like that, or whatever. They got some deal worked out with them. Will they attack the inn? Mary asks, and Strider says, no, I think not. They are not all here yet, and in any case, that is not their way. In dark and loneliness, they are strongest. They will not openly attack a house where there are lights and many people. Not until they are desperate, not while all the long leagues of Eriador still lie before us. But their power is in terror, and already some in Bree are in their clutch. They will drive these wretches to some evil work. Ferny and some of the strangers, and maybe the gatekeeper too. They had words with Harry at Westgate on Monday. I was watching them. He was white and shaking when they left him. So their power is in terror, right? Their power isn't so much. Now, we'll see later on in the book that they can fight, right? They are able to fight, but ultimately, and right now, their power is in terror. They're not ready to just, and you can see why, right? They're not ready to just outright attack anybody and just kind of go for it, because again, their goal is to get the ring, which is this very small thing, and if they just go outright and attack, then there's a better chance that whoever has the ring will just flee from them, and there will also be resistance to them, right?
They'll be found out easier that way too. Yeah. So their warfare is more psychological at this point.
Yeah. And I think spiritual too. You could call it spiritual.
Yeah.
In dark and loneliness, they are strongest. So.
What are these long leagues of Eriador?
Oh, so Eriador is the whole region of kind of the northwest part of Middle Earth that they're in right now. Okay. Which encompasses the Shire, and so the Misty Mountains on the west is kind of the western border of it, and then the sea on the right is the sea is the border on the west, and the Misty Mountains is the border on the east. And then, so it's basically just a large.
So it's a geographical area.
Yeah, it's it's a huge area.
I see. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's basically saying, they still feel like they have the upper hand, so they don't need to just come right out and attack. They won't come and attack until
they're desperate, like he says. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
now they're really in danger.
Right.
Like really, really in danger.
Yeah.
Like they might get attacked before they even leave the inn in danger. Yeah.
Yeah. They're getting to that point where they, and what do they do because of it? You remember?
Oh, they make that little, first of all, they don't go to their bedrooms, right? They just stay in one big room with Strider, and then they make little, they wad up clothes to make it look like they're sleeping in their beds, even though they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they put a chair underneath the door, and they bar the windows, and they kind of hunker down. And I also want to say that I was very touched by how willing to help protect them Nob and Butterbur are. Vetiver's like, I'll arrange a watch. I mean, surely they know how dangerous this is. Like, this isn't just, child's play.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and it's at the mention of them being from Mordor, right?
Right, yeah. But I would think, I mean, I don't know. If it were me, I would probably just, like, huddle up in a ball and just cry, right? Or I would try to flee.
Yeah.
But these guys are doing neither, right? And instead, they're staying there, and they're keeping a watch, like they're organizing a watch for them. I don't even know these people.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand they realize that it could be bad news for them too.
Right.
Right. If these Black Riders have their way, but I mean, just to really put your lives on the line for strangers, basically, I think is pretty admirable.
I agree. Very much so. Yeah, I mean, they can't do it completely on their own.
No.
They gotta have help. They gotta have help along the way, and it's the, and increasingly we see there's just this repeated, like, it's not the mighty and the powerful that cause them to succeed in this mission, but it's the common man. It all kind of relates back to that quote from the preface to the Silmarillion, right, about the wheels of the world not being moved by the lords and the governors,
right.
But by the weak and unknown, right? And Butterbur and Nob the Hobbit are kind of good examples of that.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Just the little they can do to help. And Aragorn, Strider, to his credit, says as much. Strider shows himself a good person when he's not like, oh, that's just, a lesser man would have been like, oh, that's, whatever, like that'll do any good, but Strider
Oh, right.
Strider
right.
says, where is it? I can't find it, but he basically says every little bit helps, right?
It says, "We shall see, let us hope to hold the fort till morning."
Well, it's a little
bit
bit before that, but
about, though, okay.
Yeah, he basically just says every little bit helps.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good lesson for all of us to learn, I think. Don't be too quick to underestimate the little guy.
Yeah.
Right? The underdog.
Right. And, and again, I think it's just a beautiful picture of the way that good works out in the course of the Lord of the Rings, right? The way that good battles against evil is not necessarily to meet at full force with, an equal force and be like,
right.
We're stronger, if not, we're just as strong, if not stronger than you are, right? But it's to bring others into the story in their own small ways,
right,
and to use them in the ways that they can be used in order to bring about the greater good. And sometimes the escape is by it is a very narrow escape, right? But it all kind of adds up, right?
Yes.
Over time.
Yes, it does.
And one of the things we'll see too is that a lot of times the good are able to help in that way because the evil are proud and don't expect the little people to be able to resist them, right?
God goeth before a fall.
Right.
Yeah. That also reminds me of that I think it's St. Therese of Lisieux quote that we can't. No, it's Mother Teresa. I'm sorry. Mother Teresa says that we are not able to do great things, but only small things with great love.
Yes.
Or little things with great love.
Small things with great love.
Small things with great love. Yeah. And all those definitely add up, especially when they're done in that spirit, right? Like just completely selfless and, loving, giving spirit.
Right.
I think that makes it, makes those works even greater. Right? Like
Absolutely.
compound.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
So that was Strider.
That's Strider.
Yeah.
So on the next reading episode, we shall continue with The Lord of the Rings. with chapter 11, A Knife in the Dark.
Okay.
And
That sounds very ominous.
yeah, really picks up there.
It does.
And I think, after chapter 11 and then chapter 12, which is the end of book 1, I think we're going to switch back to the Silmarillion for a little while.
Oh, are we?
Yeah,
Before we get to book 2 of the Fellowship? We're going to
Yeah,
go back to
I think so.
Silmarillion. Okay.
I think so. But we can talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm game for whatever.
Okay. I just feel like I want to finish the Silmarillion,
Yeah, I'd like to too. I'd like
I think
to say
it'll
that I've
it'll
done that.
help with the rest of the put a lot of other stuff into context and the rest of the story too, and the rest of the Lord of the Rings if we finish the Silmarillion.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Okay.
That'd be good. Yeah, I say let's do it. But if you change your mind, I'm good with that too.
Right on.
I'm just all about, going with the flow and
Going with the flow.
keeping it real.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Alrighty.
That's what we aim to do. Keep it real, Tolkien style.
That's it.
All right. Well,
Mission in life.
until next time, party on, Greta.
Party on, John.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we will talk at you again soon.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Please remember to check out truemyths.org for show notes and plenty of other Tolkien goodness. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, would you please leave the Tolkien Road a rating and feedback on iTunes? It's a great way to support the show and takes less than a minute. Over the next 2 episodes, I'll continue my reading of Tolkien's Requiem with Chapter 2 on August 31st and Chapter 3 on September 7th. On September 14th, we'll continue our discussion of The Lord of the Rings with Book 1, Chapter 11 of Fellowship, A Knife in the Dark. Please tune in, and until next time, the road goes ever on.